Going to talk about some current events, things that happened over the weekend I read about. Wasn't going to do a video tonight. Had a lot going on today. Did a lot of driving. Really wore out. Got to go to bed soon. Got to get up early. Another long day again tomorrow, but decided to go ahead and put this video out to you. I read a little bit about the Sandusky thing up at Penn State this weekend. Everybody's been reading about this and hearing about this, and everybody's talking about the cover-up, and you know, it's a pretty cut and dry situation. I believe everybody involved in it gets what they deserve, and Sandusky himself, he deserves a little more, I believe. But it's the same old story. Old guys with young kids. I mean, I don't understand what's going on in this country. In the last 20 years or so, every time you hear about an old man raping somebody, it's always a small boy. You know, it's a pretty funny joke. Everybody talks about Catholic priests and young boys, but it's really not funny. I mean, what are these guys really seeing in these young kids? I don't really get it. I'm not want to spend too much time discussing it, but something to think about, I guess, if you're trying to figure out a solution to the problem. As far as he goes, I believe pretty simple. We prosecute him and put him in prison. That way he's away from all the kids. Maybe we go ahead and strap him down to a bed and, let me think, 8 people, right? 8 kids? So we should have 8 guys go in and be able to do what they want with him. He lives through it, rinse and repeat. If he doesn't, sorry about his damn luck. He deserves to feel the victimization, the humiliation, the pain, the suffering, the demoralization that he gave to these children. And if it was up to me, the parents of these children would be allowed to go in and do what they wanted to him also. But I know a lot of these children were chosen through his fundraising organization. And some of these most of these, I believe, were inner city kids that might not have parents. But somebody needs to stand up for these kids. This shit's got to stop somewhere. But I think that's all I'm going to say about that subject. That's a pretty big subject that covers a lot of areas. And, you know, everybody's got their opinion. So the second article I was reading was about this group of people that are lobbying to have these college students that play sports getting paid. Now, I'm not big into sports as far as college level goes. I've never been to college, never been on a frat, never been on any kind of, you know, sports team. But to me, paying students is something that is going to lead to something worse, I believe. But I decided to go ahead and read the article, see what the arguments were, see if it made sense to me. So the first reason they gave was these universities make a lot of money off of all of their sports teams with the merchandise and ticket sales and food sales, and you know, the colleges benefit greatly from these sports clubs that they have on their campuses. So they feel that their students should get a cut of the profits from this. And it's a reasonable argument. I believe if you could come up with some kind of formula, or, you know, you have enough people sit down and go over all the numbers, if it could find a way to help benefit the students with it, that would be awesome. But we put that aside, you know, is that really what we want to do? Can these colleges really afford to pay all of the athletes? Is it something they could do without bankrupting the school? Do the sports programs really make that much money? I mean, we really got to look at the books and see where all this money is going, who it goes to, as far as coaches and vendors and, you know, maintenance and upkeep and, you know, away games, and is that money divvied amongst all the clubs, or is it specific to one club? I mean, there's a lot of research that would have to go into this. The second argument they gave, which was the point where I stopped reading the article. Was their argument is the families of these students aren't benefiting from their students playing sports at the colleges, including those that are on a full scholarship program. Now, maybe I fell and bumped my head somewhere, but last time I checked, it's not the school's responsibility to support the families. It's not the student's responsibility to support the families. If this student is going to benefit from playing this sport, then that benefit belongs solely to the student. If the student decides to, in fact, turn and share that with his family, that's on him or her. But it's not the college's responsibility to do this. I don't understand where these people would even draw this out of, why they would even think this would be an acceptable level to even approach somebody with. And then they talk about these students that are on a full scholarship program. Excuse me? These students aren't benefiting their families? Why don't you pay for that tuition and see how it's benefiting you? Why don't you pay for that athletic program so that your student can play instead of letting them take the scholarship and see how that benefits you? I mean, everything dealing with college costs money. Sports cost money. You got to pay for bus, gear, fields, equipment, hotel rooms. You got to pay for your band to be able to travel. You got to pay for all of your teams to do the same thing. If your teams are traveling around your state or around your country, they're going to need money, and that comes from the sales of the merchandise. That comes from the sales of tickets. This all comes from the athletic program funds. So if your student is on a full scholarship and you're not paying a dime for this, then you need to realize that, in fact, this school is paying this for your student. The school is, in fact, paying your student to get an education and to become good at the sport that they love to play. They're getting seasoned coaches. They're getting 4 years to hone their skills, to mature into adult players that will be ready to attack the pro level. If your students aren't going through this 4 years of college and they're not learning what these coaches have to give them, then they're going from high school to pros and they're going to be completely lost. They're not going to be able to handle that pressure of the pro level. They're not going to be able to handle the money that comes from that pro level. You know, going through college is the time for your student to really become an adult. That's the time when they're really supposed to be buckling down and getting ready to hit that level. So if your student is on a full scholarship program, he's being, or she is, being paid to get an education and to learn the sport. If for some reason this athletic future does not work out for that student, they have a degree to fall back on. If your student doesn't buckle down and just concentrates on the sport, he's going to end up having to go back to school to learn a trade. So the full program that they're being offered benefits the student and the family. And if you talk to any doctor, lawyer, teacher, anybody that went through 4 to 8 years of schooling to do their occupation, they would gladly trade places because they're walking out of college with student loans in the amount of $200,000 to $800,000, depending on how long they were in school and what programs they were going for. It's going to take them 15 to 20 years just to repay those student loans. So if they make $100,000 a year, you better believe a good chunk of that is going to that student loan. It's going to take a long time in that profession to pay back that loan, to even see a profit for all the schooling that they paid for. But your athlete student who's going to go